Welcome back to the Pod of Greed. I'm your host, Alec.
Yeah, and Paul. So, today we've got lots of new fun card game news, 2 Yu-Gi-Oh! Banlists to talk about.
And some controversy in other card games.
Yeah, so we've got a lot. It's going to be fun. But before we get into it, I wanted to let you guys know that the Pod of Greed is now officially on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else. We're going to have the RSS feed in the description of this video. So even if you use like a different sort of service for your podcast, you can just input the RSS feed in there and you'll get all the episodes, and it should actually show up in search on things like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So I know you guys have been asking for that. So now you can listen to it more easily during your workouts or your commutes or whatever else.
Now, typically when I don't know something, I just I pretend like I understood, but I'm just going to ask. I don't know what an RSS is. What is that?
It's like how podcasts get shared to different platforms, because the RSS feed has like the audio and.
Okay,
anyway,
whatever.
yeah. So
I didn't get it.
I jumped through some hoops. So, yeah, we got a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh news to talk about.
That's right. What do you want to start with?
So there are 2 different ban lists. I think the bigger one in the room, I suppose, is the TCG ban list, though Master Duel also got one, and so we'll get to that right after. TCG ban list is out. Lots of changes, but maybe even before the list itself. I mean, we know there was a lot of controversy about, like, is Konami going to reveal it? When are they going to reveal it? Why are they taking so long? They need to say something. Well, they did. Funny enough, actually, in the middle of YCS Philadelphia last weekend, like mid-round.
For us, it was like 11 a.m. or
11 or 12 or something. It was funny. I heard that like they literally dropped it in the middle of the round, and there was like an uproar in the room, like in the middle of rounds. So that was a thing. I was also told that I guess people weren't allowed to like make their banlist reaction videos at the venue, because a lot of YouTubers were like leaving the venue and going back to their hotel or whatever to.
I mean, typically at Konami sanctioned events, they don't want to see a camera unless you get one of those little press pass deals.
Yeah, well, they have the new media center at the. Oh, yes. They have like a media section, and it's kind of got a little Konami backdrop wall thing. And anyway, so there's a new ban list. I think there are like 25 changes to this list, if I'm correct, or like maybe 20, 25, 26.
Lots of changes, usually a sign of a good list, but it feels like every time we get a list, everyone says they're horrible.
Yeah, so this one is it's a big one. There's a lot of talk about it. Now that it's had a few days to like kind of let the dust settle, I think people's knee-jerk reactions are still maybe around, but like there's been a little bit more thought and discussion. So I was trying to read just what other people had to say about this.
So what meta deck are you building now?
Oh, I don't know, man. Don't ask me. That's probably the first thing is, we are not probably the best people to don't trust anything we say about this ban list. I haven't been playing.
Or trust everything we say.
Or that. Yeah, I haven't been playing in regionals and like stuff. So, I mean, I'm not super well informed years ago. So, here's the ban cards. They banned Cyberstein, Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow, number 89 Diablosis the Mind Hacker, a Pointer of the Red Lotus, and Branded Expulsion.
All right, so I do have a bone to pick with this.
All right, let's hear it.
I have a personal problem. How y'all gonna ban Diablosis when you literally designed Kashtira around it?
Yeah, he's a Kashtira fan, guys. That's why he's bitter. But
it's just that everything about that card and the archetype screams that these were made to complement one another.
Well, Diablosis wasn't. Diablosis was like years ago.
Right.
But Kashtira was designed
clearly like
with Konami does that though. Like they do that thing where there's like they kind of know that there's a certain card that will work really well convenient. Like it can't be a coincidence that the Kashtira are like level 7 and it's an Xyz archetype already. It just I don't know.
With the same design language. Oh, I'm also red and like
yeah, I mean, so that said, though, I know that Diablosis was the one that a lot of people wanted gone from Kashtira. It allows for, the kind of zone lock thing with Shangri-Era.
And I think that's exactly what they wanted you to think.
But, yeah, so it's gone. I know a lot of people are cheering about that, so that's cool. Cyberstein is one that I don't like that card.
I have no clue why Cyberstein was brought back in the first place.
Yeah, it's one of those cards that, like, it feels like it's only ever really going to stir up trouble. Like, pay 5,000, summon any fusion monster. I know people usually use it to like summon Nichiria Exterio. I've also seen other like weird, quirky, gimmicky things. It's like a level 2 machine, dark, like so it's super compatible with stuff. I've just never understood why they actually ever took it off the list.
It feels like it exists to wait until it gets exploited. Like that's its whole purpose.
Yeah, so glad to see that gone. Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow. So this was a one that a lot of people were not.
Ooh, it caught everybody.
Yeah, it kind of caught people off guard. So the Super Heavy Samurai deck, technically been around for many years, but like basically almost years. 10 now.
The very beginning of Arc 5, what was that? Duel Alliance?
Yeah, like 2014, something like that. Oof. But so this is their Link monster that came out like a year or so ago, a couple years back. And now that they recently got support in Cyberstorm Access, people are taken off guard because it feels like it was like a new, tier 1 contender deck, right? Mm-hmm. And so for Konami to hit it mere weeks after it released, it kind of feels like a bit of a slap in the face to people who maybe invested in the deck and were expecting to be able to play it over the summer. And I gotta admit, I don't really know why they maybe chose to hit it this soon. That feels a little uncharacteristic for them, but...
So I do have a theory on that. The Super Heavy is one of those, it's an anime archetype, so it's like other anime archetypes, it has an absolutely dumb amount of support.
Yeah.
Like, there are just too many Super Heavy cards. And when the new Super Heavies were designed, they couldn't take into context every single interaction that could happen within the Super Heavy archetype. And then what could we mix with all of that to make the boards that we ended up making? Yeah. And so
they landed on Scarecrow.
I think they landed on Scarecrow as something it was not meant to work with this stuff, like at least when it was designed.
Yeah, so it feels like it's maybe exploitable. Something that I've noticed is it kind of starts that whole like, it's part of that big like Link 1 conversation, which is something I kind of wanted to make a video on actually, is like Link 1 monsters.
Don't tell them, we'll monetize it later.
Yeah. Link 1 monsters and just whether or not they're like okay, because Link 1 monsters are so exploitable and Scarecrow is a Link 1 monster, and like it was always used with the Super Heavy Soul Piercer. And like Soul Piercer is another really old one, and it doesn't have a hard once return. So when it goes to the grave, it can like, search or whatever. And so basically like you can like summon it and you can make like Scarecrow and then get a search, and then Scarecrow can summon it back, and then you can link again and get like, it's kind of one of those things where, but see, then that interaction existed before this new stuff came out. But I guess this new stuff coming out just throws it over the edge, and Konami didn't want to hit the new cards. Now it's a
huge resource thing.
And Konami didn't want, I guess, the actual new cards in Cyberstorm Access to be hit.
Isn't it kind of funny?
They had to hit the old stuff.
Like, you hit an interaction like that, but then you bring Quick Fix back up.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I mean, I don't know. So Scarecrow's gone. I know people aren't too pleased with it. But it does still seem like the Super Heavy deck is still like totally functioning. Like it's still quite good. It's just not.
I mean, you just gotta reroute your combos.
Like it's broken, maybe is what I've heard. Next they hit Branded Expulsion. I know that's one that people were.
That's the one that let people summon the gimmick puppets to other people's boards.
Yeah, okay. Namely like in the branded kind of Despia type hybrid Albaz decks. Really obnoxious card. Definitely needed to go. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't also hit maybe just the gimmick puppet itself, but there are other cards that kind of can function similarly, like Ido, the Supreme Magical Forest. I know that was sometimes used. Even Ra's Disciple for a while in Despia was like used.
So I am surprised that Konami hit something like that so soon. I would have thought they let us sit with just that deal for a while.
Yeah, that's kind of the theme of this whole ban list. Is like a lot of things got hit, and some were things that people thought we'd have to live with longer. Now, I know that the branded deck has a new fusion. I forget. It's like the fire flaming fusion thing that can do a similar effect to Branded Expulsion, but it is not as efficient.
It's Albion the Iridescent Dragon?
Something like that. I don't know the name. So, yeah, this is gone. I think this is probably the most welcome.
Branded player, yeah.
The most welcome ban. I used to play like Despia and stuff, but I've totally lost track of what the modern branded deck looks like. There's just so much going on with it. And then a Pointer of the Red Lotus, which was already limited to one and is now just straight up banned. At the surface, I think this is kind of a weird pick, but I actually think it makes a lot of sense because from what I've heard people say, it's already a pretty obnoxious card because it like gives you knowledge of your opponent's hand, gets rid of a card. But thanks to the introduction of things like Triple Tactics Thrust, it is now very easy to get your copy of the Pointer, the Red Lotus, straight from your deck.
So now you can give judges a ruling nightmare every round.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I think most people know how a Pointer works now, but I do remember once upon a time there was like a little bit of confusion about what they meant by like end of the next end or whatever. I don't know. But it's banned now, so no more of that.
Goodbye.
So those are the banned cards. 5 different banned cards. That's a hefty one. So any other thoughts on these banned cards before we get into
I'm glad
limited?
that no other Kashtira cards ended up banned, like just outright.
Yeah, so speaking of that, here's the stuff that's limited. The biggest one being Kashtira
like that.
Arise Heart. So that's the big like 3K XZs who's, responsible for kind of the control deck version of Kashtira.
I just want to say we're supposed to be hitting other people's extra decks. Konami, why are you hitting ours?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Arise Heart's, it's a rude dude. I mean,
he's a mean monster.
He's big. He's macrocosmos. He banishes like once per chain or whatever. Like it's very, it's just a really tough monster to deal with. I think by putting it at 1, it means that if you can out your opponent's Arise Heart, you're generally in the clear. There are a couple of ways to summon it back and stuff, but like.
But now they'll have to use like extra resources to do it.
Something that I was thinking about too is that these changes, in addition to one other Kashtira change of Unicorn at 2, mean that Kashtira is a little bit more fragile, and even if it's still like one of the best decks to play, it means that a Kashtira mirror match seems pretty scary.
Horrific.
Yeah, because if someone was to use a Kashtira Unicorn and like banish your 1 copy of Arise Heart like in a mirror match, and it gets banished face down, you'll never really be able to recover it, and like now the deck really crumbles apart. So
whoever goes first probably just wins.
So I don't know. I think that's a good way to hit Kashtira. I still think it's pretty strong, but
do you think if a deck is strong, right?
Yeah.
If the mirror match is a coin flip, is it worth it?
I mean, I guess you could argue it probably was a coin flip even before now, but just in general, I think people prefer those like if a deck is strong enough, people will learn the mirror match, seems to be my experience of it. Mm-hmm. Like they'll learn the nuances of it. I know that a lot of people like to just say like, oh, such and such is a coin flip format, but at least in my experience, Yu-Gi-Oh can look like a coin flip at the local level and maybe even like sometimes at the regional level, but it can't be a coincidence that like a lot of the same names of top players seem to end up like winning and topping these events. If it was truly a coin flip, I don't think they'd be able to.
So what you're saying is the opposite then, that a lot of same names are not at the topping list. So there's a reason why you're not a world champion.
Oh, okay, no. Yeah. So I don't know, that's my take on it. I think Yu-Gi-Oh is not as RNG and like coin flip as people want to say it is. Pirelli Delicious Memory, this is another controversial one.
I don't even know what it does. It hasn't been around that long.
It hasn't. So Pirelli came out in Amazing Defenders earlier this year. And a lot of their spells, let them summon a Pirelli monster from the deck. This one adds a lot of consistency to the deck, and by hitting it, the deck is just less. I mean, that's the long and short of it. I have not played a lot of Pirelli, so I don't know the nuances. The big surprising thing is that, like Super Heavy Samurai, it feels like this deck was pretty new on the scene and not even like dominant yet, and Konami has already hit it. And so again, for people who'd invested in it, just because the price of some of the cards had gotten a little up there, it feels like a bit of a slap in the face. So
it is interesting, this idea of hitting decks so early into a format. Do you think they really just wanted to hit one deck and they decided, well, if we're gonna hit this one deck, maybe we should hit all the like top decks just a little bit?
Yeah, it seems like maybe their goal was just to kind of just decrease the power level of the format all around. Put Kashtira a little lower, still viable, but like lower. Super Heavy Samurai still viable, but like a little bit lower, a little more fragile. Pirelli, same thing. And even as we'll get to the kind of like Nichiria Runic deck, it's like slightly lower power from this too. And I think that was maybe their goal, is like, even if it's not so much about what, because something I thought about is like, people are saying like, okay, Pirelli got hit and it's new, and Super Heavy got hit and it's new, but also Kashtira's not even that old either. Like Kashtira, the first ones came out in Darkwing Blast, but the Kashtira deck didn't start to really be a thing until like Photon Hypernova, which was just in February.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't been so long.
Yeah, Kashtira it wasn't really itself until it got Shangri-La and stuff. I mean,
yeah, so
not Shangri-La, Rise Art.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I think it's maybe that's just Konami's new approach. Like just it doesn't matter how old the deck is. It's just we're gonna keep everything kind of at a more modest power level.
If I'm being like the low tier hero that I am, that makes all like tier 2 decks a little bit better.
Suppose so.
Like know, if the best decks perform just a little bit worse and they're not as consistent as they may have been designed to be, your kind of rogue deck has more good matches in an 8-round tournament.
Or if not good, it's more winnable.
More winnable
might be a better
matches.
way.
Yeah, that's probably better.
So that was hit. There's also a couple of weird cards that got hit, or at least they seem a little weird. So Psyframe Gear Gamma, I think, took a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah,
this is limited to 1 now.
To hit.
Which, by limiting it to 1, I think it's a little strange. I'm surprised they didn't just ban it, but I guess they wanted to keep Psyframe as a playable deck for the like 5 people who use it. Because the thing is, you're not going to run Gamma and Driver now at like 1. That's very inconsistent. No. So my understanding of this, from what I've read, because I didn't entirely understand the hit at first, but now I think I have a better understanding of it. People can correct me if I'm wrong. Is that Psyframe Gear Gamma was overly powerful for stopping other hand traps when you were using things like Pot of Prosperity and Triple Tactics and those sorts of cards. Because if, say, like, you use Pot of Prosperity or Terraforming, let's say, or something like that, and I ash it, then you can, like, Gamma it. And so it kind of functioned as a shield against hand traps for combo decks. And Konami has, with this hit and other past hits, like Called by the Grave to 1, and like the magical mid-breaker field spell like a while back.
Ooh.
I know it's an older one. They seem like they're pretty intent on making sure that like combo decks don't have super easy ways to counter the hand traps that are supposed to counter them.
Right.
So, so that's a hit.
I guess they're trying to maintain this rock, paper, scissors system that we supposedly have.
Yeah, like everything's supposed to kind of have some counterplay. If you're playing a control deck, there's plenty of spell and trap removal. If you're playing a combo deck, there's plenty of, like hand traps to stop you, and you don't have that many ways to stop them. So,
that's fair. No, I get
cool.
it. I get it.
A couple other ones. So Naturia Sacred Tree also got limited.
All right, you gotta explain that one to me.
Yeah, so the Naturia Runic deck was a pretty popular, like, upper tier thing.
Oh, wait, when we say Sacred Tree, we're not talking about Hermit Tree. We're talking about the actual card.
No, yeah, the trap card.
Okay, just check.
Yeah, so it has like
Tree.
some cool effects, but the main thing is that when it goes to grave, like when it's just sent to grave, you get to search a Naturia monster.
Right.
And so obviously that is something it's pretty accessible, right? Like you could use Foolish Burial Goods or any number of other things, like send it to the grave, and lets you get searches. So this just kind of cuts the consistency of that deck.
Yeah.
They were typically like used with Runic, so it was like Naturia Runic, and they also went ahead and hit Fountain to 2, which I'll get to, but that was like a not as impactful hit.
I haven't liked Runic one bit, so it's fine. I have no problem with that.
I hate Runics just from playing Master Duel.
Like,
So
I played against Larry's Runic deck once, and I never want to see it again.
So that's a hit. Some things, and then one other thing that they hit was Mathmech Circular. So I was not aware that Mathmechs were, I guess, the terror that they apparently are.
Circular is the white one, right?
Yeah, so Circular...
That's the good one.
You can send one Mathmech monster from your deck to the grave to special summon this thing from the hand.
Great.
And then also, if a Mathmech monster is normal or special summoned to your field while you control this monster, you can add a Mathmech spell or trap to from deck to hand. So this is like a 1-card like functioning engine basically.
Yeah, it starts everything by itself.
Sets up your grave, like can get searches. So they put it to 1. Obviously, it's still searchable. You can still use Silent Mining. There's still other ways to get to it. But I think that this hit is just sort of meant to maybe not make it the just extreme powerhouse, like, army of 1 type of card.
Yeah, right. That's...
I don't know a lot about Mathmechs. I know that people also don't like them very much in Master Duel, but I'm sure that the TCG version is perhaps even...
Mathmechs always kind of find their way into conversations. That's what I haven't liked about them since introduction. they've always just they've either existed on the fringe of the metagame or they're being used within some other deck. Because I remember talking.
Yeah, they're all Cybers Links shenanigans stuff.
Cybers Links. Someone was running them with. I saw them with super heavies. I saw them as their own thing. I've seen them too many times in Master Duel.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those decks where I don't think it seems innocuous enough, but like
they have some nuts monsters in that deck.
But yeah, like some of the stuff they can do is just that deck can really go.
Yeah,
like for sure. And it has access to a lot of the code talkers. Yeah. So anyways, that's a 1. I don't think that kills the Mathemate deck. That's at least the sentiment I've heard, but there are some cool cards that came back to 1. Blaster Dragon Ruler of Infernos.
So wait, how many Dragon Rulers do we have now? We have 8.
So we have 2.
Litho. Okay.
Oh no, Lithosagems, that you're thinking of the True Kings.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm getting my
True Kings and
my
your
elemental things confused.
Your elemental deities mixed up.
They're not my gods.
Yeah, so Blaster's back. It's the Dragon Ruler. I think everybody agreed was the most like bring backable. I guess that's
backable.
Because Tempest has already been around and hasn't really done anything.
Nothing.
Blaster doesn't do that much either. It can pop a card. I think that this is probably maybe like a bid for selling that upcoming Fire Legendary Duelist set that's coming out.
Yep.
In a few months.
Duelist of Explosions?
Yeah, something like that. So maybe that's cool. And then also Dinglong is back. This one's a little bit more like curious because it's actually a pretty abusable card for dinosaurs especially, but like also other decks.
I don't want to see Dinglong hit a board I'm playing at anytime soon.
Yeah, I fear most of like the buff assist to Sword Soul because like Sword Soul's already a really solid deck. And it's never, as we've mentioned before, it hasn't really like lost a lot of cards in a ban list before. But this adds a lot to it because it's a worm and it works with all their Tinyies and it gives them an extra negation. And it also, the nature of the negation that Dinglong brings, 9 Pillars of the Yang Zing, lets you like counter things like Dark Ruler no more, which you normally would not be able to counter. So it's,
but I'm happy for the Sword Soul players.
Yeah,
because you have to be kind of dedicated to keep playing that deck when Konami disrespected you by not hitting any of your cards and letting the meta game just sweep you right out. There's just something disrespectful about that. I was like, please ban my cards so I feel like I did something.
So those are the limited cards. I don't think I left anything out. Yeah, lots of limited stuff, semi-limited stuff. Herald of Orange Light went from 1 to 2. So that was typically kind of being used, I guess, with the Ishizu tier deck and all that. Mm-hmm. But now that deck is kind of out of the game, I think that they felt it was safe to move Herald of Orange Light back to 2.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I don't have any strong opinions on that. Kashtira Unicorn, that's the last of the Kashtira hits. It doesn't seem too impactful for it just to go to 2, but...
I mean, it's a consistency hit. I mean...
he's the guy who could hit their extra deck, and also he could search spells.
Yeah.
So quite strong.
It's good. It's just it's not that bad.
Strange One Lightning Storm. Don't know what that's about.
Is it too flexible? I don't know.
I mean, I was under the impression that people weren't even really running 3. I heard that the common like ratios to run was 2 Lightning Storm and a Feather Duster, or like 2 Lightning Storm and a Raigeki.
I guess if you're siding in 3 can be pretty useful.
So yeah, that's a little strange. Runic Fountain went to 2. A lot of people agree this is not really enough because most people only run 2 copies of Runic Fountain and it's pretty easy to search. So
in a deck that relies on its field spell, I just assumed that they ran 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think some builds did run 3, so those are maybe hurting for this. But I think a lot of people started to run 2 because they realized that you don't want to like have 2 fountains in your hand.
Yeah, because Runic, they need every single card in their hand to be live to like
get
their
to
things
kind of
going.
keep it going. So that seems like a pretty like unimpactful hit. We'll see. Sky Striker Mobilize Engage from 1 to 2. I know a lot of people are celebrating that. So the sentiment I've heard around that though is that why are Sky Strikers getting their cards back, but like other decks that were popular during that time, like Orchists and Salamangreat Gazelle and stuff like that, still, and like Electromite, those are still like banned and stuff, or like Gazelle's at 1, but like
aren't they printing new Sky Striker stuff?
Yeah, and Sky Striker I think is like Konami's baby. Like, they like Sky Strikers. They give them sleeves and alternate arts, and
they sell products. What can I say? You know, they move accessories. It's good artwork to slap on things.
Yeah, waifu girl and all that stuff.
And they had, the OCG manga lore thing. It's about Sky Strikers, so.
Yeah, and then Sprite Starter also went to 2 from 3, so that's like a slight nerf to sprites. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even think that sprites were super dominant because they'd lost Sprite Elf, but I guess they still felt that the engine itself was maybe too accessible. So
I've never liked sprites, so hey, if we gotta keep hitting them, let's keep doing it.
yeah, and just a reminder to everybody, again, take our opinions with a grain of salt.
No, these are ironclad words of law.
Yeah, these are professional Yu-Gi-Oh players' opinions on the matter.
We are professional. We're on a podcast.
Yeah, that must be more legit, right?
Yeah.
And then the stuff that went to 3, Blackwing Steam the Cloak. This is one of those like things that got abused with Halka Fibrax. It's just finding its way off.
I thought that was crazy, and then you told me that that's not GoFu.
Yeah, I don't think GoFu will ever be back, sadly.
Okay. That's fine. I think Blackwing players deserve to eat, even though we always make jokes about them at their expense. Yeah, we do laugh at you guys, but you do deserve to eat.
GeneX Ally Birdman, Samsara Lotus, Spiral Quick Fix. That was the one that you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. Bit strange. That could be a little scary.
I guess that they're just seeing what can Spiral players do without Master Plan. We're just gonna slowly give you some cards, except Master Plan.
Lyrilusk Recital Starling from 2 to 3. I don't think that's like a huge change, but it helps that Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk deck a little. Draco Face Off. That's one that you were excited about?
Yeah, though I can't find 2 more copies of that card to save my life.
Yeah, what's that for? I guess you're building the Draco Slayer.
Yeah, the Draco Slayer Pendulum deck. I love pendulums, especially like Performa Pals and stuff. But Performa Pals are really hard to play and complicated with like their combo lines because they can do just about anything you want them to. Draco Slayers are a bit more limited in scope, and the end boards they end on are more consistent. Yeah. So it's easier for me to play that deck. And then Draco Face Off coming to 3, that just makes building your boards easier and a little bit more resilient since you can recover when your opponent inevitably interrupts you.
And finally, Skytracker Mecha Modules Multi-Roll goes from 1 all the way to 3.
Oh, say it 5 times fast. Go.
Oh, no. Mecha Modules Multi-Roll. Mecha Modules Multi-Roll.
You didn't say Sky Strikers.
I can't, okay? I can't, okay? Sky Striker Mecha Modules Multi-Roll. Ugh, that's just... Okay, it's at 3. So that's another big buff to Sky Strikers. And that's the list. I tried to get through it kind of fast. I mean, it's a lot of changes.
It is, and you know what? What letter grade do you give it? You can't give any more context. Give it a letter.
Yeah, did I just get a letter? B-.
What? Wow. B-.
Sure.
Wow.
What about you? What are you giving
Mr.
it?
B- over here.
What'd you give it?
This is an A list.
So what makes it an A for you?
No plus or minuses, just A.
Just an A. What makes it an A for you?
For the sheer amount of cards that moved around.
Yeah. Are you maybe one of those people, you're more interested in just the idea that cards moving makes for an interesting...
Yeah, I like to see lots of cards moving. This list was both impactful in the metagame and also for casuals since it just moved a lot of cards around.
Yeah, I think when I view it in that context, it is a pretty good list because while I know like some people hate it and some people love it, some people just think it didn't do enough or it hit something too hard too soon. As a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I'm kind of with you. I think that just a new list that does a lot of changes to me makes for a more interesting and different game now. And to me, like if you're a real duelist, so to speak, I know it's a bit of a nebulous term, you're gonna change your deck and just kind of keep it pushing, right? Like like these changes, yeah, maybe your favorite thing got hit or you have to change the thing or whatever, but like Yu-Gi-Oh's gonna go on, you're gonna adapt, and like I would kind of rather have just a lot of little hits and like kind of let it just mix things up, freshen the game.
All right, time for my hot take.
Let's hear it.
So actually, I don't like smart, competitive, and efficient lists. I don't like a list that is very impactful on the metagame, but it only moves a few cards. The thing is, the ban list is not just for competitive players. For some reason, we all abide by the Forbidden Limited list, even though we don't all play competitively.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, that means we're all bound by this thing. So I don't like the small lists that, even if they do a great job with like rebalancing the metagame, that's cute. Doesn't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with that. Like, I think I kind of, as a person who's been in the competitive scene a lot, but I'm now far more casual, I'd say, I think that just mix-ups are more exciting than like very small clinical hits.
I like seeing cards come off the list. I don't like seeing crazy cards coming off the list. Like
even for me, like I don't even like I've had this crazy Banlist thing for a long time where it's like I remember when they put Snatch Steal off the list, and then like immediately ended up back on the list because like people found out, okay, this shit's broken. And like Cyberstein's kind of another example, and like we recently got Change of Heart. Like I say, like let the kind of weird stuff come off. Let it show up, terrorize the game, because we get these ban lists like every 3 months now anyway. So if something is just truly awful, then we'll suffer through it and it'll get banned again.
Are you saying that you have inside information that the ban list comes out every 3 months now?
Oh yeah, that reminds me. So they're still on the same bullshit of like it's gonna update in a few months. That's their a
few months.
Konami's favorite phrase. So will that mean August, September, November,
December?
Who knows? But that's the list. I mean, overall, it's neat. Enjoy it. You guys got what you wanted. So now we transition to another ban list.
Hey.
This one's not as like big of a deal, but Master Duel also got a ban list.
It might be a bigger deal since that was an actual tier 0 format.
True. So in Master Duel, they have changed a few different things. This one's going to be going into effect on June 8th. As your resident Master Duel grinder, not really, but like sort of, I got sick of
how'd you
Diamond.
place in the world?
I didn't play in the Worlds thing. Oh, I have thoughts on that. We'll get into it. But so here's the new Master Duel list. Cyberstein's also banned here.
Good.
Kind of funny. It's the one consistent thing between both lists. Cyberstein's nuts. We've already talked about that. Smoke Grenade is also banned. Thank God. I do not like that card.
Every time I think about playing Infernobles, Smoke Grenade gets hit.
Good. It's funny. It actually wasn't even Infernobles that was abusing it. It was that new Power Tool Dragon Braver, whatever.
What's weird is I hear about that card. I've never seen it used.
It shows up just randomly in Master Duel, and it's so annoying because like it gets summoned anytime it's special summoned at all. It equips 3 equip spells to it from your like deck or grave.
Okay.
And so you'll equip like Smoke Grenade, some other random thing, and then like this equip spell that while it's equipped to a monster, that monster is unaffected by other spell cards.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
It causes the other cards to get destroyed. And then that triggers Smoke Grenade. And then like people will use like Barone and all these other little things to bring that Power Tool Dragon back again during like your standby phase or something. and then since it got special summoned, it does the same thing and it like eats another card out of your hand. It's very rude. Like this card is old and nuts and needs to just like please go away.
Smoke Grenade is very old. I was surprised when we did Rare Hunters and it came up in a pack and I was like, wait, this card is that old?
Yeah, Smoke Grenade is an old card. Now here's the big controversial one: is Terraforming is banned in Master Duel going forward.
Oh,
I know a lot of people are upset because they kind of feel like their rogue decks that used a field spell, needed terraforming, are hampered, and this is a hit that seems like it's intended to further nerf like tier elements, and probably it's like a upcoming nerf for Kashtira that's going to be in Master Duel soon. They have a really powerful field spell. Any immediate feelings that come to mind?
I guess Terraforming was at 1 in both the TCG and Master Duel. So I'm fairly used to it being at 1. Mm-hmm. And my whole thought process with Terraforming has been that you can't depend on it anyway.
Yeah, it's a card that's at 1, so I don't think that it should change your deck building that much. I know field spells in Yu-Gi-Oh! Lately, this applies to TCG, Master Duel, whatever, have just gotten really fucking strong. Like, they're strong.
They search and activation. They have an effect when you summon a monster of a certain like archetype, and then they have some other effect
and some
on
passive.
Top of it. Like,
and the thing is, like the Visas Starfrost ones in particular, like Primitive Planet and Primeval Planet and all that stuff, those have like really pushed the field spell design.
Yeah, that
to
Scareclaw one, man. Whew.
Well, actually, you say that, but even that one's pretty strong. Like, Scareclaw's not a great deck, but it still searches on activation. It still has a passive buff, and it still can let you pop a card and like draw for it or whatever.
You know what? You're right. It is
Like
nuts.
it's pretty, like all of them have been pretty good, and I think like that's just been a trend that Yu-Gi-Oh's had even before then. Magical Meltdown, Dragonic Diagram.
Oh my god!
Like we've had some really strong field spells.
Yo, it's crazy that Dragonic Diagram does not see play.
Well,
that,
it's like
that card
one
was,
or something.
Oh,
now.
it's limited.
1 or 2 in the TCG. At least.
Oh, okay, that explains it then. Because Dragonic Diagram was horrible. I hated that card.
Yeah. Dragonic Diagram. It's a rude card. I don't remember. Like it's one thing in Master Duel and another thing in the TCG. I don't remember the difference, but either way, yeah. I mean, so I think terraforming going to 0, it's a hit that hurts, but like it's kind of been a long time coming. So
I mean that's fair.
Maybe I'm being too mean in that take, but
because what the difference is now having 3 of your field spell versus 4.
Right.
You didn't have a great shot to begin with.
And a lot of decks can also search their own field spell, so there's that.
A lot of newer decks.
Yeah, some of the newer, some old ones.
Older decks, they're gonna struggle.
Just as a bit of an aside, I've never really liked the idea that Konami kind of has been doing when they support these legacy decks. They'll give them a field spell or something, and they'll like top load that field spell with like a lot of good effects, but then it makes the deck kind of centralize on said field spell, and then if that field spell gets like cycloned on activation or something, then the whole deck.
Then you realize your opponent's running Ogre, and you're like, oh
yeah,
no.
Or just something like that. So, yeah. Anyways, the cards at 1, Keldo, Mudora, and Agido are all at 1. Although suspiciously not Kelbeck. The last one. It's still just at 2, but they hit all these Ishizu cards presumably because they did not want to hit any TR Elements cards, since they're maybe too new or something. I don't know.
Prioritizing the new meta thing over anime is an interesting decision.
Yeah, I think that by hitting these cards, their intention is to make the consistency in your mills in the TR Elements deck. Like, they want to hit that.
Right.
So, when you hit these mills, because TR Elements, it's rude. It's an annoying deck. But honestly, I always found the Ishizu cards to be the more irritating part about playing against them, because they would cause more mills to happen in mass, because these all like mill 5 or whatever. Whereas the TR Elements cards usually mill like 3 at a time. And then they can like shuffle stuff from the grave back, and it felt like they really caused the disruption to your opponent more so, and the TR Elements cards are just doing their TR Elements things.
Now, a quick aside, I'm not gonna derail this conversation, but the Digimon Banlist came out between this pod and the last pod, and a deck that got hit in Digimon was the Beelzemon deck, which actually has similarities to the Tiarament deck. Beelzemon is also a milling deck, and how they chose to kind of tamper that deck down, because the deck would just mill out to about 30 cards, and then it would use that advantage to just OTK you. That's what it did. And they were like, okay, this deck's too much. Instead of hitting the card that does the OTK, instead of hitting the cards that that start the combos, they hit the card that extended the mills. They hit an Impmon that when it gets sent to your trash or graveyard in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, it mills more cards. And then that card also, when it's played, will then search for a card. So like it feels like an Ishizu card.
A similarity. I mean, I think there's something to be said about that sort of an approach to hitting cards, where maybe instead of hitting the starters, you're like, specifically for a deck that's all about milling, you hit the statistics.
Yeah.
You hit the ratio. And like the TCG chose to hit the TR Elements cards, like the main deck monsters. They all went to 1. Whereas in Master Duels, it's like they went with after the Ishizu cards. And like both kind of accomplished the same thing if we're talking strictly like chances of thing getting milled. In fact, I would argue the TCG hit it more harshly. But
I mean, the TR Elements are the ones you actually want to mill, because then they do their things in the grave.
The Ishizu stuff's just disruption and pushing it along. So I'm interested in how these hits affect things. I know it's not what people wanted. I've seen a lot of people online saying like, well, Tyr's still going to be the best deck. Maybe not. I don't know.
Could be, it could not be.
So also some things went to 2. Sprite Blue. I'm happy about this. I don't really like facing Sprite very much. So.
I already told you guys I don't like Sprite, so you already know how I feel.
Girsu, the Orcus Mech Knight. It was at 1 and now it's at 2. I think that's fine.
I think that's fun, actually. Letting some of those cards back. We were talking about how in the TCG people want to see a Harp Horror back.
Yeah. What's interesting is Master Duel actually has like Harp Horror at one, and like the Mech Knight Orcus Gersu guy. Like I will give Master Duel this. They actually seem more like, I guess, progressive and open about like kind of just letting like strong stuff exist, even if it's like old. So.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I did want to build a kind of general World Legacy deck, but some of the hits are prohibitive to me doing that.
Nadir Servant goes to 2. This is one that was at 1, and I don't really understand why it stayed at 1 as long as it did. It's kind of long since been crept out of like the mainstream of like Yu-Gi-Oh! In both TCG and Master Duel.
My understanding, because I saw a tweet or something. It was from Decade, and they said that
I think the new Dogmatica stuff.
It was Nadir Servant was like a 1-card El Shaddai Winda.
Oh yeah. That's like a thing.
And that could be the reason why it was at 1, because it was just too annoying and too powerful, and pushing up to 2 doesn't make it that much more powerful, but it's a big help for new Dogmatica support.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like Konami probably they see the statistics of play, like just Nadir Servant's probably percentage of play has just gone down low enough that they think it's fine. So I'm excited about this because I actually wanted to build the Dogmatica Ritual deck.
And that reminds me, they don't have Bystials yet.
Yeah, that's supposed to be presumably coming here in the next like couple month or so.
I think they'll loosen the reins on any like light or dark strategy.
Yeah, because Bystial kind of checks them a bit.
Because Bystial, they slap them around.
Metaverse is at 2. I guess this is supposed to be your like consolation prize for losing terraforming. You can play another Metaverse.
I gotta play a trap.
Yeah, no one wants to.
I'm not doing that.
And Cyber Angel Ben 10, which I don't think like really makes a huge difference.
She goes to 2.
Yeah, she goes to 2. She was at 1. Kind of slightly helps maybe Drytron or something. Man, it feels like Drytron feels so long ago.
It does. Pandemic?
It was pandemic.
It was during that time.
Yeah.
Oof.
So those are the changes. They go into effect on June 8th. Again, just lots of knee-jerk reactions to this. People are kind of mixed. I actually would argue, I think this is a pretty good list for Master Duel.
Give it a grade. And no pluses or minuses.
You got to give me my pluses and my minuses.
No.
I'm a high school teacher. It's got to be a plus or minus. If I had to give it a grade, I'll give it a B.
A B?
Yep.
All right.
If you'd let me have a plus, I'd have said B plus. But
oh my gosh.
I think like the A plus list would have just been to like ban Kit Kalos and like kind of let people be happy, but this'll do. It'll do for me.
So this is a C list. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because Dragoon is not playable still.
Okay, yeah. A lot of people seem to want Dragoon in Master Duel. I know
I want one.
A big thing.
Give me
you want to
one.
play like for Red Eyes and stuff, right? So he has honest intentions. Not everybody has honest intentions.
I want one. Every list is going to be a C list until I get it.
Whew, okay, that's a lot of Banlist talk.
That's a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's
We apologize to our viewers who actually don't play Yu-Gi-Oh. There's like 2 of you. We know.
Yeah, sorry for those of you guys who tune in for non-Yu-Gi-Oh. There's always going to be a lot. Okay, one last Yu-Gi-Oh thing, and it's not a ban list to go over, but the World Championship qualifiers thing for Master Duel ended like a day or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And they tallied the results. I think that the way that they handle that World Championship, like the way that you have to qualify or whatever, is awful.
Ingenious.
I hate it. I think it's just not,
What is not to love about it? They've created a system that for 3 days straight, a contingent of your player base just plays continuously. If they try and stop, they fall in the ranks. So they got to keep trying to play. And then whoever is in the lead pulls everyone behind them because they're trying to overtake that one person. Oh, as a smart business decision, ingenious.
Yeah, as far as what it means for the players, I think it's awful. I totally
them kids, boy.
They
look rough after that.
Yeah, I totally get, that Konami wants you to just log on to Master Duel and like never leave your room. But I think that it feels like it's rewarding just quantity over quality. And I don't really like, I just thought, because it was a 72-hour thing for those regional qualifiers. And you just had to kind of just stay on Master Duel the whole time and just play and play and play and like bash your head against basically either TR elements, which is obviously very annoying to face, or anti-TR elements, which is usually normal summon False Dyna, activate Dimensional Fissure, equip it with Moon Mirror Shield, pass. Ooh. Like, just, it was so polarizing. I feel like, could there have been a better way?
There definitely can be a better way, but it depends on the goals of this contest.
Because I don't know that it even like determines who's like most maybe like qualified to go to Worlds. I think it's just who is willing to spend the most time. But the thing is, Worlds is going to be an entirely like different format, and stuff. So it's just a little bit weird. I don't like seeing players, I guess, just get abused that way.
Master Duel Worlds will be.
It'll be a different format.
Yeah, the Banlist.
It'll be a different Banlist.
It'll be a different format.
And it's supposed to be like a teams 3v3 thing, and there's all that.
That'll be interesting.
And I mean, what do you think? Like, you feel like that's...
So I can't escape the armchair CEO in me, where I'm just like patting my devs on the back, where I'm like, y'all really created something horrible, man. These players, they're just giving us all the like game time. The streaming numbers are up. Like, this game looks like it's doing great right now. And that type of a system, I think many games would do it. But the bigger the game, the harder it is to have a system like this. Because it does leave players unsatisfied. It does threaten the health of the people who really try and win these things. Mm-hmm. And Master Duel can get away with it because there isn't this large social media outcry coming behind it. If League of Legends, if their like world tournament was decided by a system like this, it wouldn't make it, right?
Yeah, I think that people would want like a more skill kind of focused thing. Because that's kind of the thing is like it doesn't necessarily feel like it's like a testing your skill. It's just testing your like endurance, your dedication. Because everyone's playing, either Sprite or tier or like anti-tier. But yeah, I
mean everyone, and to be fair, I'm not taking anything away from the people who did rank. Everyone who made it to 2023 Worlds, they do deserve it. They are good at the game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
I just think that I take more issue with Konami's system they have in place. Now I've heard this is what they've done with Duel Links for the last several years.
Yeah, the same.
So there's nothing new, and they probably won't be changing. But I don't know. I just don't think that like you should run your players ragged in this sort of system.
Because I mean, there were people who were tweeting out the process. There were live streams. And you could really see how... Like,
there was dedication there.
Yeah, but, like, how it drained them.
Yeah, it's a draining thing, and I don't like that. Like, whatever. So,
I saw someone tweet that they took off work so that they could fully commit their 3 days.
Their 72 hours.
And the thing is, I saw the lists of the people who had qualified, and didn't see that person's name on there.
I saw Sam, Team Samurai X1, he was like doing the grind, and he ended up in 4th place after like just grinding for 72 hours.
I'd be sick.
Yeah, and I'd be so just pissed because it's like, man.
And again, he's probably too tired to be sick.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but congrats to him, even though he didn't actually make it in. Congrats to him for getting 4th. I guess that's your prize.
I guess there's
Is there
no
a consultation?
Real,
no.
There's no.
I think you get a title.
Get a title for being 4th place,
like in the game, maybe. Right. I don't know.
Like,
so, congrats to the people who made it. Hopefully you can enjoy Master Duel at Worlds, and hopefully they can change this honestly very abusive system. I totally understand why they do it. I get that for them, they don't care as long as people are logging in and playing and, But
I'm surprised that once they that they don't do more of a bracketed, maybe like single elimination system. I guess it's hard to do that given the sheer amount of players.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you would do pools.
Yeah,
is what you would do. Is like you do pools or like some sort of a seeding where you can kind of skip over it if you have like a high enough rank from the other stuff. That's sort of what they do with the dual level thing, and then just like kind of break people up into pools, and then from that you can create like a 32-man bracket at the end or something. But that might be hard because then people have to be online at the same time in order to playing their bracket match,
and then we have
that's
different. So what's as
yeah
painful as the system we have now.
I don't know that I know a better,
It might be hard to
solution.
replace it.
So
that's enough about Yu-Gi-Oh! But I do want to talk about another card game story that I've become more personally involved with than I expected.
Okay, I think I know which one.
This article says Black Aragorn in Lord of the Rings sparks outrage.
Yeah, so this is a Magic the Gathering story. Explain it to me because you guys know I'm not like super versed in Magic or Lord of the Rings.
That's true.
So you have the
Paul's
stage.
a fish out of water in this one. So Magic the Gathering is doing a set where it's a collaboration between them and I guess the Tolkien estate. I'm not sure who exactly owned Lord of the Rings. Either way, this Magic set is completely themed around the Lord of the Rings franchise.
Is this the one that has like the single ring card that you can?
Yes.
It's like going to be worth $1 billion.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we talked about it before where they have the 1-of-1 ring card.
Okay.
And
Anyway.
you'd think that would be the biggest controversy of the set. But Wizards will always impress you with how they can stir up a conversation.
Yeah. They found themselves on this podcast every single week since we started. There's always like a new Magic thing.
Always something.
Anyway,
But this one, I don't even really fault them for. It's just, I think people taking it the wrong way. So they did their own interpretation of characters and events from the Lord of the Rings story. Now remember, it's a trilogy. It's 3 books, but it's also The Hobbit. But it's mostly the trilogy books
right.
that's inspired from. And one character, Aragorn, this is the quintessential kind of male hero. He becomes a king. He's a great guy. Lots of charisma, lots of leadership. One of my favorite characters of all time. Their depiction of Aragorn in Magic the Gathering as, well, black.
Yep. Yeah, that's the controversy, isn't it?
And like, Aragorn is famously white. I mean, in the movies, he's a white guy. In the books, he's a white guy. They describe him as being pale and everything else.
Yeah. And people aren't pleased by this.
They are so incredibly not pleased.
Yeah, I saw when the official Magic Twitter account like posted, just his official artwork or whatever and some of the lore behind it. Comments were not the kindest on that post. Some people were pretty outraged.
Like, it's what you'd expect. Lots of nerds don't like things that change, and that's in any franchise.
Yeah.
So you expect a lot of Lord of the Rings purists to be upset by a change like this, but it got worse than that.
Yeah, did it?
So this change attracted lots of kind of alt-right types and white supremacy types who, I guess, either they saw Aragorn as this like hero of theirs personally, or they just saw it as an opportunity to convert people over to their way of thinking, the white replacement theory, yada, yada, yada.
A lot of that.
Because I do think that it is fair to be unhappy seeing your favorite character changed.
Yeah.
I don't think it's okay to call people slurs.
Yeah, insult their intelligence.
Because they like the change. But, I'll just, so I made a tweet.
Big mistake. That was your first mistake.
Yeah. I shouldn't have used
Being
Twitter.
on Twitter.
What an idiot. But I made a tweet, and I guess we can pull it up in the...
Yeah, I'll show it on the screen.
We'll show it on the screen. But in my tweet, I just say that I like the depiction of Aragorn. I said Aragorn looks familiar, and I think that's cool. That's pretty much it. I didn't say anything more than that. And this tweet blew up.
Yeah.
It got way more engagement than I would have ever expected from a tweet of mine. And it attracted a crowd of people that I didn't even truly understood were on the platform.
Yeah, it was nasty.
I was called dumb, many different types of slurs. Everyone
Another
kept
word for dumb?
Yeah, a very not PC word for being dumb.
Yeah.
And it was all off this idea that I needed to see myself in like a character in order to love the story. But that's not at all what I said and not what I meant either.
Yeah, it got nasty. I mean, for what it's worth, you weren't even the only person who was, I mean, under fire. I saw so many people were posting. It was just everywhere. Like it's like these people really came out of the woodwork to, I guess, defend, who was in their eyes, like their hero, their version of this character, like is the only real one. I saw the professor, Tulare Community College. He was tweeting about, this is like blatant racism and hatred. You guys, like, this has no place in the Magic community. They were lambasting him, saying, he was a black apologist, or that he was trying to be a gatekeeper. I think it's tricky because...
If you read some of those comments in the post, and guys, I locked that post, but I mean, I didn't delete anything because I want anyone and everyone to be able to look and see what was said underneath there.
That Alec that were told. Yeah.
But like there was more gatekeeping going on in that, like, in those replies than I or the professor could have been doing.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because there's a part of me deep down where, like, I can at least see it from the other lens, where, like, it is a character who is kind of designed a certain way, and it feels like the change maybe is just for the sake of, right? Like, I think for a lot of people, they see it as like, oh, they're just changing it to be pander. To pander or to be woke or whatever. And I know that for a lot of people, these characters are like, they hold these characters dear. Right?
Nerds tend to do that.
Like nerds, fanboys. And I'm not saying nerds isn't like, I'm a nerd. Like, we're nerds. We all have these tendencies. It's just that I think, like, the amount of vitriol and anger and sort of turning it into, like, character attacks and some of the terminology and stuff just doesn't have a place. I don't understand why people can get that upset about it. I don't know.
Especially given the scope of what we're talking about here. This isn't a movie adaptation of Lord of the Rings. This isn't a new book. This isn't a comic book. This is static artwork for Magic the Gathering's rendition of that story. Yeah, like, it's nothing more.
It's like a collab,
Yeah,
like, it's not really.
It's a one-time thing.
I think that's something too. Is like, it doesn't fundamentally change. Like, they're not, like, erasing the original Lord of the Rings in any way.
Nope. The books are the same. The movies are the same.
These things can all, like, just kind of coexist. It's just one rendition of it.
And this isn't going to be what Lord of the Rings is going forward. I'm sure they're going to remake the entire trilogy at some point. And I'm sure Aragorn will be just as white as he ever was. And the thing is, I have no problem with that. I loved white Aragorn.
Yeah, I think it's... People maybe see that and they see a threat to the things they hold dear, but I really wish they wouldn't, because I don't think that I think that it's just a rendition. And if more people can relate to this artwork of him, if this can allow people to feel more, like you were saying, like, it kind of feels familiar and you can kind of see yourself maybe more in the character, that brings more people to a franchise, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
It's like, people kept telling me in the comments, and you can read them if you check it out. They kept saying, well, what if we made Black Panther white? How would you feel? This is all such in bad faith, because if we made Black Panther white, it was like, but you have white, like, Marvel heroes. Like, if you made Black Panther white, he'd be just like one of the many others.
Yeah, it's rough. And I mean, I hate to say it, because, like, I know normally we're kind of like, it feels like we're always like lambasting Wizards of the Coast for something, the Pinkertons,
and look, guys, let's not,
And those are separate issues.
Yeah,
right? Like, it's all separate.
Like, yeah, we're not gonna give them a pass on that.
But I think in this case, I mean, they made it an executive decision. Like, people signed off on this. I think that's also something that needs to be said. Is like, this wasn't like someone snuck this artwork, like, onto the card,
right?
And, no, like, Wizards signed off on it. I guess the Tolkien estate
in
signed
some
off
way
on it.
Right, like, someone in charge of Lord of the Rings said, yeah, this is fine with me.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I think, I know that doesn't mean a lot to some people, but I think that it should be said that, yeah, like, this was they knew what they were doing. It was a concerted decision, and I think it was a good one. I'm not even saying it was, like, the best one. I think it could have been perfectly fine if they just depicted him as he's normally been depicted. That would have been fine, too.
Would have been cool.
But I think that to choose to kind of do it this way is also fine.
And, like, let's not forget, y'all, this is a card. It's a card. You're either going to play it or you're not.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, it's interesting because I've seen a lot of people who are just excited for the set. Like, just the cards are really good. and they're excited to play them. And so they're kind of just more like, oh, cool, I can't wait to buy these cards and play them. Like, I still think there's a lot to love about the idea of a collab like this. Like a card game getting a collab with a major media property, the whole like one of one ring card or whatever that's going to probably be worth millions. Although personally, I hope that like a kid pulls it and knows, just has no clue what it is and like throws it away and his dog eats it.
Like,
and we never find out about it.
What if
It's never
someone
recorded on
opens
video.
it and it's damaged?
So that's the funny thing about that. I saw somebody, like, they showed, I think, the ring card on like the official Magic account. Like there was like a video or something of it, like in the maybe factory. Like this is promotional material, and someone was saying it already looked a little like warped. So I don't know. I don't know. That's like based on like a screenshot, so could be something else. But that's what I saw.
They print a new one and replace it. Like, uh-oh.
But moral of the story, at least to me, is like, I don't think that there's no need to act that way about this. It's not. I don't think that that's good.
Like,
I'm sorry that happened to you, honestly.
I mean,
your phone was blowing up.
It was crazy.
Your phone was blowing up.
Because at first I didn't want to turn off my notifications. At first I thought it was funny. Then it got very personal because at some point, or very early in, really, they were attacking me personally, as if I commissioned and made the artwork.
See, that's when it's not.
I was just like, y'all don't even know me. At least follow me if you're gonna like. It's like, only gained like 30 followers.
Yeah.
Out of like 600 comments.
Yeah, I think that's a fiasco. And I mean, like, and that's not even the only instance of it. I've seen, like, there's obviously been lots of headlines, and it's just, yeah, that sucks. People gotta, like,
But it is what it is. We move on, just like in this pod, as we move on to our next story.
Yeah, so Dolphin Emulator on Steam got removed.
Is that legal? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, so there's just a news story.
Nintendo be sending them, they send them people after you.
Nintendo has filed a DMCA notice against Valve and the Dolphin Emulator development team, which removed the title's Steam listing. So this is like an odd story to me, and here's why. So, do you know what Dolphin Emulator is?
Don't you play Smash on there?
Yeah. So Dolphin, it's like an emulator.
Wait, did I just dox you?
No, I mean,
I don't know if like Nintendo's gonna come after you now.
Yeah, so like Dolphin is an emulator. You can play GameCube games, you can play Wii games. It's been around for a very long time, and I guess the developers of Dolphin were going to have it listed on Steam. Like there's going to be a thing that's on the Steam store, and you can. I don't think they were charging for it, but like you could download it.
It's so ease of access.
Yeah, and they were even careful not to actually mention the word Nintendo in the listing or any of the descriptions. They just said like you can play popular games from like the Big N or something like that.
The Big N.
But Nintendo filed a DMCA takedown notice. It claimed the title had violated Nintendo's rights per the anti-circumvention portion. So yeah, their tweet was, "It is with much disappointment that we have to announce that the Dolphin on Steam release has been indefinitely postponed. We are currently investigating our options, and we'll have a more in-depth response in the near future." So I don't really know why the hell they wanted to put it on the Steam store.
I mean, I think they just wanted to make it easier for people to
access it. Yeah. But like, so yeah, you're probably right. I think my guess is that they were probably trying to put it on the like, so it'd be easier to get on a Steam Deck. Like if you have a Steam Deck, like because people put Dolphin on the Steam Deck already, but this would make it a more like straightforward process. And so I guess the idea is just that like it would make that easier. But I mean, like, you can just download Dolphin. And they're not making any money from it being on Steam, so I'm just surprised they even bothered doing this.
I mean, I guess maybe they thought that they were off Nintendo's radar, and they thought that maybe we can try something new.
Yeah. Now, there's also some arguments about like how like the emulator itself is not illegal. What's illegal is like distributing the ROMs.
Right.
But still, like the court fees, if the Dolphin developers were to take this to court against Nintendo, would be like probably millions of dollars. Nintendo's huge. They'll fight this in court to the bitter end, and you'll lose, and you'll have lost a lot of money and
your business
stuff in the process. So I don't know. It's kind of one of those stories that's sort of unfortunate. But also, like, I mean, you can still just download Dolphin yourself. So
it just reminds me of what we talked about last week. It just feels that corporations are anti-gamer because all Dolphin does is it lets you play games on platforms they don't even support anymore.
Yeah, I think Nintendo, they're one of they're high up on the totem pole of like they do not like piracy or anything that looks like it. You know, I follow Smash. They've had
you
plenty
like
of
Wii games. Play the Switch port.
Yeah, like I followed Smash. There's been plenty of, you know, they butt heads with Nintendo all the time over different things like that. So kind of unfortunate, but you can still get Steam, I guess, if you want. And
You mean Dolphin?
Dolphin or Steam. You can get Steam if you want.
That's true.
I use Steam.
Steam is
cool.
still here, guys.
Steam's cool. You can even get Dolphin working on like a Steam Deck without this method or whatever. So
right, you can what? Because you can run Windows on the thing. So
yeah, so that's that story. You got anything?
Yeah. So I do have more Konami news.
Oh, okay. Is this not Yu-Gi-Oh? Just Konami?
Yeah, that's not Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
So Konami confirms Kojima isn't working on Metal Gear Solid 3 remake because for some reason people thought that he might be.
Oh, certainly not. I mean, he's not with them anymore, right?
He's definitely not. To me, it's so funny that Konami is making something other than a Yu-Gi-Oh video game and not a soccer video game. It's Metal Gear.
Yeah.
In
2023.
People got some like weird like hope inside of them.
What,
and they're like,
Kojima would be working on it?
Is Kojima back?
No.
Of course not.
No, I mean, like, Kojima and he left Konami on like not good terms.
Horrible terms.
Yeah,
it was not a fruitful relationship as both he and Konami put it.
This is something I actually didn't understand from that trailer. So this is a remake, kind of remastered thing. This Metal Gear Solid game that's coming out, like the Metal Gear Alpha or Delta or whatever that.
Yes, it's a remake of.
Oh, because I saw those graphics. The graphics look so good. I thought it was like a new Metal Gear thing.
Well,
but it's just like like Final Fantasy VII remake type
like
of.
Final Fantasy VII remake.
Okay.
So a very supposedly very high quality and
high like budget thing. Yeah, it looked really good. I'm not surprised at all. Kojima's not involved. Now that he probably feels some type of way about it, but I guess he signed off the rights to. I don't know the specifics of that. Anybody like someone's going to be like, no, this and this and the other, and the case. I don't know. I don't know anything about Metal Gear Solid. I haven't played any of the games. I know that there was a lot of when he like finally left Konami. I know there was like a lot of bad press around it. So
it reminds me of like some of the issues they've had in the comic book industry. You know, Metal Gear Solid is known as Kojima's baby, and like it's still owned by Konami. Like they have plaques and stuff of him in their office, not of Kojima, of like Snake
not of Kojima,
and whatnot.
of Snake, yeah, figures and all that.
It's crazy that you can make something for these corporations, and then they can
like ultimately just like keep it and discard you.
Yeah, you can go, they keep it.
I mean, you know, there's an argument to be had that what they did there is like, you know, wrong, but maybe like I don't know the specifics. Like I don't want to presume to know, because like I do think that there are people at Konami who probably worked on Metal Gear Solid and also feel that way about it though. Like they like maybe somebody who did some of the like more character design or environmental design or like did a lot of coding on it and stuff like that, or just worked on the music. They might still be there, and they are still really closely tied to Metal Gear.
And that's true too. Still, like, these are Konami. Very collaborative efforts. It's not just one person that makes these games.
You know, and I've even heard like some things like, you know, Kojima was apparently maybe not the nicest guy himself in regards to it. Also, I don't know. Like, but I think that you're probably still more so right. Like that, it sucks that this is being made without him, and something about that feels a little wrong.
It's just that it's the idea that like corporations can own things. Like corporations are already considered like separate entities for like legal reasons and like tax reasons. It's interesting that a person or people can create something, and then an entity can own it.
Yeah, and then there's also like, and that applies to, it's so when you kind of zoom out from it for a bit. That applies to like everything that we like.
Yeah.
Every single, like, all these little properties that you think, like, stand for something or, like, or mean something, have a message, or, like, that they're all properties owned by, like, corporations.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to take that whole, like, it's a conspiracy thing. I mean, like, I'm serious. Like,
It's not a conspiracy.
Mario and Zelda and Sonic and all that, like, in Pokemon, all of them are like that. Batman and Superman and Aragorn and, like, Lord of the Rings, all of it. Every last thing is, like, a company's sort of tool to use as they desire. It's a thing that they can sell to you. It's a thing that they can, like, rip away from you.
I mean, there's a reason why we started calling these things IPs, intellectual property. That's legalese.
Yes. It's things that can change. Like, you know, people get upset with Marvel when this or that happens. They change this hero, or someone got written out, or they remastered this thing. These are all, like, IPs that are malleable to these corporations.
They can work it however they can.
Work it however they want. They will change something to pander to you. They'll make your favorite, like, if you want to look at it, like, they'll make your favorite character black if they think it sells more. They'll, like, re-release some old port of a game and charge $59.99 for it. Though, like, there's anything can happen, and as much as it might kind of seem like this game stands for something, and it can for you, but it doesn't mean it does for them.
Like, if you can feel, I think you can feel attached to the IP.
Yeah.
And I think that's as much as a personal investment you should have in things like this.
I think that. Sorry, go ahead.
Because, I mean, that's essentially what I was going to say.
Because I was going to say, don't go to, like, something I see a lot on the internet is, like, don't go to battle for these companies. Like, you know, when I see, like, these, like, kind of fanboy wars where it'll be like, you know, Xbox versus PlayStation, as though these companies don't just see you as a dollar sign anyway. But, like, people will go to bat for them. Like, oh, Sony, they do this better, and, like, you know, Xbox does this better, and, like, this and that. It's like,
I remember when the actors were criticizing, like, the Marvel and, like, Kevin Feige and them and Dave Bautista and whoever else. They should be grateful to Marvel. They should, like, it was like, all right, relax.
Like, I don't know. I mean,
it's $1 billion.
Yeah, like, I think that's something that people kind of miss in the whole thing is they get, like, enjoy the work. Like, you can enjoy the game, but just be careful of, I guess, like I'm a PlayStation's most loyal fan. I'm going to go to war for them.
It's like, look, maybe all my devices are Samsung, my tablet, my phone, my watch, my TV, but
there he goes. But that doesn't mean
I don't owe Samsung. I owe them nothing.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, you don't owe them anything. They don't owe you anything.
I'm not going to Apple anytime soon, though.
Yeah. So I don't know. But yeah, the Metal Gear thing, just to get back to that, it is a little weird, I guess, feeling, but they're going to release it and they're going to sell it.
It's going to come out. The thing is, keep it simple. If you like Metal Gear, buy and play the game. Keep everything else. Nope, just don't think anything more about it.
Don't tie it to any more than that. Okay, I've got a story.
What you got?
Lord of the Rings Gollum. I think that this probably I meant to it's a good segue from the first Lord of the Rings thing. Lord of the Rings Gollum devs had to issue a statement following the release of a broken game. I didn't know what this game was or that it existed, but this was on my feed, so I felt like it makes sense to.
So I knew that game was coming out.
What is this? Tell me just in brief.
It's this. Did you see the Lord of the Rings movies?
I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings.
All right, so it's hard to explain.
I know nothing. I'm completely ignorant.
It's the Lord of the Rings story kind of told from the perspective of Gollum, I guess, fan favorite character.
Sure.
Gollum's a very feeble, sad. I don't know. Look, guys, I don't even like Gollum.
What's the game about? I mean,
it's about him.
Playing him.
I don't know. Look, I don't like Gollum. Never did, not one day in my life. So when they announced that this game was coming out, I was like, oh, that's something I won't be playing, and I ignored it. And then I forgot about it until these stories came out.
Yeah, so this game came out and I guess was not finished, which, like, you know, that's nothing super new.
In gaming today, that is not new.
But they released this apology tweet and
let me hear this.
So it's, as always, it's like the black background with, like, the white text that they always use.
They type it on their, like, notes app?
No, so they have like this sort of like decorated like image. Anyways, here's what they say. I might skip a few lines because it's kind of long. Dear players, we would like to sincerely apologize for the underwhelming experience many of you have had with Lord of the Rings Gollum upon its release. We acknowledge and deeply regret that the game did not meet the expectations we set for ourselves or for our dedicated community. Please accept our sincere apologies for any disappointment this may have caused. And they kind of go on to say that as a studio and passionate Lord of the Rings fans, we've always wanted to tell a compelling and immersive story-driven adventure. We understand the game's success relies on the enjoyment and satisfaction of the players. We genuinely value your feedback and have been actively listening to your voice, reading your comments, and analyzing the constructive criticism and suggestions you provided. Our development team has been working diligently to address the bugs and technical issues that many of you experienced. We, again, deeply apologize. There's going to be patches. There's going to be improvements. Thanks for your support. Sincerely, Date Alec Entertainment. So this is cool. I mean, it's a heartfelt apology. It also joins the the trend of many of these apology letters that have become a lot more common in like the game space.
In the last month.
Even as recently as like the release of Redfall. I know that like people were making collages of
Overwatch 2 had one.
Of all of the just like apologies from these studios. Redfall had one. I think Overwatch like kind of basically had one. What was Forspoken, Cyberpunk, Halo. Like it doesn't really change with these companies. It feels like it's always.
I feel like there's a disconnect between, I think, their fiduciary duty to their stakeholders and the gamers, the audience that they're supposed to be serving. I think their fiduciary duty pushes them to release games in unfinished states, and then they just apologize to us. So they try to do what they need to do to please their stakeholders, and then they just tell us sorry. Don't worry, we'll patch it out. Don't worry, day one patch, DLC.
Yeah, there's the Jedi Survivor one. There's that one from that one Bethesda game. I forget which one.
What did Jedi Survivor apologize for? I heard good things about that one.
I've heard good things, but apparently there was something wrong.
I don't
know. There's just it's interesting because it's like just don't like. This year we've gotten a lot of single player games that have been very polished and like there's the Zelda, there's Hogwarts Legacy. And I guess that Jedi game, like, they've gotten really good reviews. People have really liked them. And, like, I think it shows. And a lot of those games got delayed. I remember Hogwarts got delayed. I remember Zelda got delayed. And usually when you delay the game, it gets to be better. And, like, you don't
That's
have
true.
to.
They did delay Cyberpunk.
That's a different story. I don't even know what to say. I don't even get me started on that game. But, like, that's the thing. It's just, like, I don't know. I'm another apology notice. Like, just, it doesn't, like, add it to the list, Yay, one more.
I don't think anybody gets away with selling incomplete products the way the gaming industry does. Can you imagine if you were sitting down, you bought your movie ticket, you sat down to watch the latest Marvel epic, right? This 3-hour long, like, lore fest fight. And then, so you get to about the 1 hour and like 15-minute mark. And then it just cuts to black. And then in white letters, I'm sorry appears.
Yeah, they like a little apology. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the games industry has also realized though that people get so excited for these games and they'll pre-order them and like buy them, and I think they've just found out that like we can kind of ship first, ask questions later, right?
It's this
ship
weird...
it without like game modes, ship it without like bug testing, and we'll just promise that we'll do it over time and like figure it out.
It reminds me of the opposite of that phrase, like making your money on the back end.
Yep.
Because of pre-orders, they can make their money on the front end.
Yeah, I think the thing to take away from this is like I just wouldn't even pre-order. Like I don't play a lot of games. I said that like last week and stuff. I'm not a big gamer, but like I think in the climate that it's at now with these like AAA games or what are supposed to be AAA games, I wouldn't pre-order shit.
You can't trust it, man.
You just can't trust that anything.
I don't pre-order games, and now I can't even like buy a game day one because I just don't know how it's going to run.
That or there's going to be like a 20 gigabyte day one patch. Can't forget those.
So now I'm skeptical about everything. I haven't even bought Jedi Survivor because I had to let it sit for a while so that the reviews came in and people's player experiences got explained. And now I'm like, okay, so when will I play? I don't know. I kind of missed the hype boat for it. But at least I now know the game is safe to buy and play, but you can't always know that.
So that sucks. Just another kind of another studio apology letter joins the stack.
Now, you know a game that seems complete that's coming out very soon. Or I guess when you guys see this, it'll be out. Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to Street Fighter 6 for a long time. I guess anyone within the Street Fighter community and many in the FGC community as a whole have been since Street Fighter 5 came out forever ago.
Yeah, I saw it's gotten good reviews. It's been like 7 years since Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, it's like
It's crazy.
so much DLC, so many season passes. There's good and bad parts to it, but Street Fighter 6 is launching as one of the most complete fighting games I've ever seen. Since like the old PS2 games of games being done back in those days. But that game is finished.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna have DLC and add some
Good to know
stuff,
that there are still games that do.
They're far and few between, man.
Aren't you got any other stories?
Yeah, actually. We talked a little bit about AI in that one episode. I don't know if that was the last episode or episode before. But AI industry and researchers signed statement warning of extinction risk.
Okay.
So, I have always loved like cyberpunk anime and science fiction novels and whatnot. So I was really looking forward to when AI was going to be a thing, because AI in just about every science fiction work that I can think of eventually goes wrong. Sometimes it goes sentient, sometimes it just goes rogue. Oftentimes the AI becomes smarter and more efficient than the people that made it, and then that poses a risk to human life. So
what happens here?
Dozens of AI industry leaders, academics, and even some celebrities on Tuesday called for reducing the risk of global annihilation due to artificial intelligence, arguing in a brief statement that the threat of an AI extinction event should be a top global priority. This is a quote. Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks, such as pandemics and nuclear war. This statement is by the Center for AI Safety. The statement was signed by leading industry officials, the OpenAI CEO, Sam Altman, the godfather of AI, Geoffrey Hinton, and then top executives from like Google DeepMind and Anthropic, Kevin Scott, Microsoft's chief officer, Bruce Shiner, and some other people too.
Cool. Can't go to sleep tonight.
Because man, AI.
Yeah, I mean, this is the scariest part about the whole AI thing is.
What's the scariest?
Is just the fact, like, do you remember? You feel like it just appeared overnight.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's right around like January, right?
That's when it made
like December, January.
News.
That's when it just like suddenly, like, oh, ChatGPT is just out, and you can like type to it and talk to it and write your essays and do your taxes and everything else. There was a story the other day about like the lawyer who used like ChatGPT and it like cited non-existent like cases and sources and stuff, and like he's under fire. But you
get that man debarred.
And there's so many things. I remember like
disbarred.
There's like AI Drake and AI Kanye, and like those are things.
AI are replacing us.
That's
the replacement theory.
There's the deep fakes. There's so like it just appeared, man. It just appeared. It's fast too.
Because I mean, technology evolves at an exponential rate, and when it was introduced to us, we were already seeing the past of what AI researchers were working on at the time. That was just the most stable, like consumer-friendly thing they could show.
What's always scary is like anytime you see something with AI and you think like, oh, I can tell, like I can see the difference in those pictures, or like this still sounds fake. Like this is like the worst. I know like people say this, like this is the worst it'll ever be. Like it's only going to improve from here. I mean, I guess it's good to know that our resident CEO billionaires are concerned.
Do you know why they're concerned?
I think it's a liability thing.
No, I think see, for a billionaire, they're not really human anymore. They don't have the same problems and worries as we do.
Yeah.
So, but they have to worry about something, so they move on to the next thing. Something that they can't just throw money at to make not a problem is AI becoming a danger to humanity. No matter how much money you make as a billionaire, what happens when an AI has become so intelligent it can pose as you and start trying to sell off your assets or claim your assets.
I mean, I don't even know if it goes that deep yet. I mean, it probably does.
That's the beauty of it. It is like for us.
We have to be concerned.
Yeah, we have so many real world worries.
Yeah, for them, it's. I mean, I've always thought it was just like a lie. Like, it's good public posturing to like be like, oh, we signed the agreement to help AI not kill us all. But also, I think it's just like a liability thing where it's like, well, we signed this agreement, so like, you know, it's a gesture of goodwill. So now when Google Bard tells you to jump off a building or whatever, or when someone actually, I don't know, dies because of some medical advice that ChatGPT gave them, there will be just some degree of plausible deniability and stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's already in the fine print for those things where it's like, oh, you know, we take no responsibility for any crazy shit this thing tells you to do. But like,
I mean, the thing is, I think at some point we will literally not be able to take responsibility for what AI is capable of doing. Right now, it operates within the constraints that we give it, but that's what we know of as the general public. There have been people flexing online for months now saying how ChatGPT is like infantile compared to what the AI that they're really working on.
Yeah, what's really going on.
So. They've been flexing constantly because they just want to dunk on like ChatGPT because they went public first. But
yeah, I mean, ChatGPT is the big figurehead of it, but like, there's plenty of other stuff, I'm sure. So,
but for us normal, like general people, ChatGPT is enough.
Yeah, it is. And I also, you know, one last thing about the AI bit is there's this sort of thing I've been thinking too, where it's like, so, you know, you can use like, they've been advertising a lot of services or like features of ChatGPT and other like AI services where like they can basically take a lot of information and condense it down. Mm-hmm. They can also like take a basic prompt and like expand it. Right. So like in like Gmail, I'm in that little beta where like I can type in a prompt from, it can like reply to my emails for me with like these AI things. I can type a prompt and be like, respond to this email and ask for a refund for this thing, right? Or please, you know, explain, like whatever. I can give it a prompt for an email, and it can write it, and I can even have it like expand it and write more, or like contract it down, or change the tone, all that stuff. But what's interesting is you can also throw a bunch of text into AI, be like, hey, here's this essay, give me the gist of it. Here's this like, you know, long wall of text, give me the gist of it. And you already have like TLDR culture, right? You see some long wall of text on Reddit or Twitter or wherever, and you don't want to read this. Someone just tell me that, give me the highlights.
Give me the TikTok.
What's interesting is there's going to be this world, have you ever considered, where like you are going to write an email to me. Okay. But you're going to use AI to do it. And so your prompt is going to be like, tell Paul about the issues with this project that we're working on. And it's going to kind of like extend that little prompt into like this long email. I'm going to get the email, and then I'm going to have a feature on my end that's like, okay, this email is way too fucking long. I don't want to read it. So condense this down for me and like tell me what the gist. And it's going to condense it down into like a few sentences. So basically, Alec is just saying this and this and this. And I'm going to be like, oh, okay, cool, got it. Then I'm going to tell it to write a response to you saying like, you know, acknowledge that this thing is right and make these like changes and kind of explain why this seems bad. And it's going to expand that prompt and send it to you. And then on your end, you're going to be like, this is too much to read. And like, we're going to be ping pong. But the thing is, we're not actually going to be talking to each other. If you think about it, right? Like, it's going to just be AI, basically, like robots speaking to each other and like expanding info, contracting info, expanding info, contracting info. Like, and it'll just be just this kind of loop where humans, I know it sounds doomer, but like humans aren't, like, we aren't the ones talking. Because I remember like Google, they were showing how like the AI can help you like find stuff to buy and all this stuff and try things on and like clothes and food and whatever. And then you can even make like social media posts with it. Like it will tweet it out for you. Like tweet about how excited I am to have bought this thing. But like, what does it mean if social media itself, like the tweets were written by AI? And so like you have AI write your tweets and you're reading other people's tweets and those are written by AI. So it's like the robots are like actually social media and they're talking to each other and just representing us. Is that not like, I'm sorry, I know that it's
exactly what I'm looking forward to.
I think it's like it's all very terrifying.
But that's why they have the warning of extinction risk. Because think about it, what you just described, communication is one of those fundamental human things that make us different from the rest of the animals on this planet. We can communicate in much finer detail. And if we just start letting AI do that for us...
Yeah, will we just lose our ability to actually write?
What are we? Because what you just described, that creates a situation where dolphins communicate better than we do.
Perhaps.
And that's horrific.
Well, I think it's a good point to end it. Just nothing, a little existential dread doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, a little cold chill in the morning.
Yeah, so this is a longer episode. Hopefully you guys stuck with us through it. We will have some special guests on next time. So hopefully. So I think that will be kind of exciting. You guys can look forward to it.
We might have gotten Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, he's in the next room over, just waiting. So that's been the Pot of Greed. Like I said, you can find it on Apple, Spotify, Google. Got the RSS feed. It's all going to be in the description. Let us know what you think of anything that we talked about today.
Yeah.
Banlists, Black Aragorn, or AI ending all of our lives.
And guys, next time we will have cards inside the Pot of Greed.
Yeah, we've got the pod. We just or the pot for the pod. So we'll Okay, that's it.
Cool. See you guys in the next one.
Best turn.